Hey, welcome to Jackie's Lyric Corner. I am Jackie, and it's time for a book update. I also have an update on a TV show as well. So, let me go ahead and talk to you guys about that first. So, I finally started watching Shameless for real because I've attempted to start it twice, and I think it really helps that my parents are watching it too, so it gets me it's motivating me to keep going with it because it's one of those shows where I have to be in the mood for it because it's very intense and there's a lot of content that I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch that. I don't know, or at least I don't want to see that. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I'm definitely invested in the storyline, but it's really good. It's the U.S. version. I know it was originally a U.K. show, and then it got moved to the U.S. It's had 11 seasons, and like, in case you don't know, it's basically about this family that's like, the dad is a drunk, the mom is bipolar and left them, so they're raised by their older sister. There's, including her, there's six of them. There's six kids, and it's them trying to live their life. They're a poor, low income family trying to get by, and it in their relationships with people around them, their friendships and romantic relationships, and it's a lot of dark humor and sexual content. That's the part that makes me sometimes uncomfortable because I'm not a prude or anything, but I don't want to see like some of the, like, I'm kind of, when it comes to sexual content, I kind of prefer the one where you have the music in the background. It's nice and sweet and stuff. But of course, that's just a small part of this storyline. It's not just about that stuff. It's about their lives, and that's part of their lives. That's a part of their lives is their romantic relationships. It's really a good show. I'm on season 4, although my parents are once again ahead of me. Like, it's definitely a show I will not watch with them, but we watch it, but we both watch it. I just won't watch it when we're in the same room because, like I said, there's some content that I don't feel comfortable watching with my parents right there. So but we will talk about it afterwards. Like I said, unfortunately now they're ahead of me and I don't like that. I don't like, because I was able to catch up and get ahead of them, and I was very happy about that, but then now they're ahead of me because I don't want to spend all day watching the show. I need a break, first of all, and I don't want to spend my day just watching TV. Oh, well, this is on Netflix. But, yeah, I don't want to spend my day watching TV. I want to read books, and I want to watch YouTube videos, which, I mean, YouTube, you're still staring at a screen, but, I've gotten to the habit, once again, I'm watching the show while at the same time watching videos, and I gotta go back and forth. I know that's not good for my brain, but now I've just built the habit, and I can't, just sit on my couch and watch TV, while I have to doing, watching YouTube videos. Maybe it's a habit I need to break, but yeah, it's a really good show. Like I said, but if you're even more squeamish than I am, then, and prefer a more wholesome story, then maybe it's not for you. But yeah, it's definitely a really good show. Now let's talk about the books. So currently I'm almost done with Homecoming by Kate Moore. This is her newest book, and I'm hoping she's already in her bubble. I'm working on a new one. I'm really excited because I always look forward to her books when they come out. I've never been disappointed. I mean, like I said, I do like The Clockmaker's Daughter. I don't remember as well, and I do need to reread that one. And I don't think it was a bad book. I think just for some reason I don't remember it as well as the other one. And maybe that's because I was kind of rushing it. But then again, I remember it. I'm assuming that I remembered when I was reading it and I was enjoying it. So, but either way, I do want to reread that one. But what I would like to do is I've said this before, that I want to do an author spotlight on Kate Morgan, because I don't hear a lot about Kate Morgan. Like, there's only like 2 booktubers that I've heard mention her and reading her books, and that's it. So I want to get other people that like historical fiction to read her books. Granted, maybe, I'm not following the right people because I mostly follow fantasy channels, and some of my channel, and then other channels that are into other, and then there's other horror channels that I follow, and even sometimes literary, so it's kind of surprising that I don't follow enough historical fiction channels, but that could be the reason why I don't hear a lot about Kate Morton. But I kept putting it off because there was always, oh, she has a new book coming out, so I should read that one and first before I do a video on her. And then, oh, but I want to reread all of her books first. And, there have been a couple that I've read enough now, more than once now, where I feel like I could talk about those books. I mean, that was the thing. I want to be able to talk about her books and sound like I know what I'm talking about and not hesitate. But I feel like I've read enough that I know what her themes are, and, I remember at least a little bit of each of them. I mean, I could just start doing a reread now and just continue to wait. I'm worried that I might never get around to it, so I want to do it this year. Of course, I said last year and I never did. But again, it was all those excuses I kept giving. But I'm enjoying this so far. It's really good, but I always think her books are good. And worth a read. I've never been too unsatisfied with them. I've always enjoyed them, and I mean, I probably have my favorites, and I will always, the Forgotten Garden will always be probably a favorite because it was the first book of hers that I read and I fell in love with. And by the way, it has nothing to do with Secret Garden. I remember I read one review of it, and this makes me think that the person didn't even review the book. I mean, not even read the book, because they are like, oh, it's copying off of Secret Garden. It's like, no, they just have similar titles, and yes, there is a garden involved, a mysterious secret garden involved, but they're nothing alike. Their plots are very different. I mean, and yeah, the one other thing they have in common is there's the English countryside, but the author loves England. Kate Morton loves England, so of course every one of her books is, between England and Australia, because she's Australian herself, but she loves England. And she also, all of her books often involve houses too, which I watched an interview with her just to kind of help me prepare for an author spotlight video for the future. And she talked about it in the interview how she loves houses. She's obsessed with houses. But I'm going to stop talking about her because I want to still do that video. So I do think I need to reread The Clockmaker's Daughter, because like I said, I barely remember that one. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this, and I'm almost done with it, so I guess I should just wait to film it so I can reread The Clockmaker's Daughter first. I'm just nervous that I'll procrastinate too long and then forget about it. But if I make sure I read the books of hers that I don't feel as confident about, one right after the other, as soon as possible, then hopefully it will stay in my head to remember to film that video. So that is that. And also, so my parents did promise to drop me off at Books A Million because they have a meeting to go to, so they figured we'll drop you off there. And it probably is a good opportunity because right now the weather is kind of yucky and rainy and stuff like that. And, sometimes on those days my parents just don't want to go out. And, I don't drive, so I can't go anywhere. So I have to, if they offer to drop me off at Books A Million, then I'm going to jump at the chance. The only problem is my Books A Million is really small. So the only seating area is a bench near the magazines. And it's a hard bench. It doesn't even have a back to it, so it's not comfortable to sit there. And there's no cafe, but it is in the shopping center where there's a little restaurant, a little cafe type restaurant, and then there's Michael's and Food Lion. And the place, because it's so small, it doesn't have a bathroom. At least not a bathroom for customers. I mean, they probably have a bathroom in the back for the workers, but of course we can't go back there. So it's like, So either I have to go to Food Lion or Michael's to use the bathroom. And the good news is that this time it's going to be an hour, so I don't have to rush as much. So if I do have to go to the bathroom in the middle of my shopping excursion, it won't, hopefully I'll have time to do that and still go shopping. But and the other downside is that because I'm there for so long, it will give me potential to browse. And I know mostly that's a good thing, but not always for me, because a lot of times when I go in there, I usually have a book in mind that I want to buy, but then I get sidetracked by other books. And then of course I'm trying to, because it's a chain bookstore, so books cost more than it would at, the used bookstore within walking distance of my house, so I can't buy more than one book. Sorry, my friend just texted me because I was mentioning her about watching Shameless. And so with that one, there's the cafe and I can browse and I can buy more than one book. But with My Books A Million, I can't, because it's so expensive, I have to restrict myself to one book so I can stick to my budget and not blow it in one trip. Because there's like 3 or 4 weeks within a month. So I did last time I went there. I got this book. This is the his first published, Kurt Vonnegutt's first published book, and it sounds like from the descriptions, because I read all the descriptions of his books, and they all sound like, and I think that includes his most famous novel, Slaughterhouse 5, that they're all kind of dystopian or sci-fi type books, or what's the word, like, there's a word for books, speculative. I'm so glad I remember it. Because I have a bad habit of, I forget words. And it makes me feel dumb and ignorant. And that's partly because when I'm tired, I forget. My brain's a little fuzzy. Like when I'm at work, that often happens. Because I have a bad habit of, staying up until midnight. Although, in my defense, I'm reading. I try to at least be in bed by 10 or 11. And then the reason I'm staying up is because I'm reading. But, yeah, so this sound, so this is first book. So I figured, let me start here, which I haven't started it yet. But I wanted to start on his first published book. And then I would get to, eventually I would get to Slaughterhouse 5, because I distinctly remember someone telling me, and I want to say it was my sister, but I might be misremembering because it was so long ago when I had that book. And I always have where I remember things, but then other people don't, and either I'm remembering it wrong and misremembering it, or that other person is just not remembering because it was so long ago. And it's frustrating because I'm like, I am so sure this is what I am remembering this correctly, but then I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm not remembering this correctly because it's been such a long time. But like I said, I think it was my sister who said, oh, I don't think you're going to like Slaughterhouse 5. So I won't let it go, and now I decided this is one of those authors I'm going to give another shot. Because his premises sound really interesting, and of course I hear a lot about Kurt Vonnegutt. And I know, you don't have to get into every author that was popular back in the day or is considered a classic. Just because they are doesn't mean you're going to like it. But at times I do want to give these authors a shot and try them out. And see, because I do, if I'm just not interested at all, I'm not interested. But there are some authors that I might be somewhat intrigued by, and I would like to give them a chance. Of course, I've been taking some risk with Books A Million, which I try not to do too much, because with Books A Million, the books are expensive, and, it's easier to take a risk with a book that's only, $5 at the most expensive. Because then it doesn't hurt your bank account too much if you spend the money on it. But anyway, his premises sound really cool. And they're not super long books. So, I do need to pick this one up. soon start reading it. And what I'm thinking about doing is when I go to Booksmelting is buy another one of his books. So I can have more than one to read. The problem is, like I said, it is a little bit of a risk here, because what if it turns out people, the person, whoever they were that told me they didn't think I would like it, that they end up being right. And I don't. But I think I might like, but I feel confident at the moment, at least. And I do feel like I'm not super hard to please when it comes to reading. I do have my preferences. Like, I don't hate romance. I will read it sometimes, but it's not my first priority to read something where the romance is the main focus. And I would rather watch a romance, just watch a movie, a romantic comedy, or, a romantic, a show that has romance in it, like Bridgerton. I will watch that. I'm not going to ever read the Bridgerton books. And then at this point, I'm a little too influenced by other people's opinions of those books. And yes, normally, yes, maybe you could argue that I should give it a shot and decide for myself, but, first of all, we don't live forever, so I feel like sometimes you gotta draw the line and not necessarily read every book that people think you should give a chance, because you happen to like the adaptation or something. You shouldn't feel pressure to do that. Because you read what you really are excited to read or really want to read. And, we live in a world where now we have the movies and the TV shows, probably more so the TV shows than the movies, because sometimes the movies can be a little rough and just not as good. But sometimes these show adaptations are really good. And I really enjoy the show, and I'm not gonna be reading the Bridgerton books. If other people want to read them that watch my channel and hear me talk about the show and are interested in the books, go for it. I say, try, if you want to read the books, go for it. But I'm not going to, because I just rather watch the show. And at this point, it's too late, But anyway. But yeah, there are other people that I'm, and there's other, like, thrillers I'm just about, and then detective stories. I just don't think I cut out for detective stories, because, like, I read Dissolution by C.J. Sampson. I might still listen to the other audiobooks, because it is part of a series. But yeah, I'm not. But detective stories are kind of boring to me. Like, I have been tempted by certain people, Tristan in the Classics did a really good video on listing all great detective novels, and there was at least one on there that the way he talked about it got me interested. So I might try it one time, but as far as I know, I'm not a detective novels reader. So yeah, there are certain genres I'm not interested in. I won't read them. But at the same time, there are situations where I am willing to give someone a chance if it's in a genre that I might that I like. And like I said, I think he kind of has this Kurt Vonnegutt has kind of a sci-fi dystopian feel. And it just sounded interesting. Let me go ahead and read the premise of this, the back of this. Kurt Vonnegutt's first novel spins the chilling tale of engineer Paul Proteus, who must find a way to live in a world dominated by a supercomputer and run completely by machines. Paul's rebellion is vintage Vonnegutt, wildly funny, deadly serious, and terrifyingly close to reality. Which is funny, because I don't know when this particular book was published. This edition was, let me see, what's the copyright differ? So this was originally, I think the most recent date for this one was 2006. So it still applies, I feel like, considering now that we have TikTok and everything, and how TikTok almost got banned, at least here in the States. So yeah, the supercomputer thing actually applies, because it feels like we are a lot closer to that AI. That's the other thing, AI is kind of starting to become common. And then there's the whole thing that AI in the publishing industry. that whole drama. So this book kind of applies to today, which also that's why I think the book The Circle, kind of also by David Eggers, I feel like that also applies to today, because it's basically all these social media sites combined into one big site that everybody uses, and the main character spends all of her time on there, to the point where she's out of touch with reality. She doesn't even consider if her family and her boyfriend are comfortable with her filming them all the time, and like her whole life is on the computer. And it's such a good a good story, by the way, good, and I think it applies to today. It's relevant. But yeah, so both that The Circle and Player Piano, which that's an interesting title. I need to start reading this so I can figure out why is it called Player Piano? Like, what does the piano have to do with the maybe the character must love the piano, must play the piano or something. Maybe that might be why. But yeah, like I said, Kurt Vonnegut's, his premises always sound really intriguing, so. Anyway, so that's my reading update for you guys. I don't know what I'm reading next. Like I said, I'm thinking about starting in Player Piano, but then I have all these other books that I haven't read yet. Like, I still have the Thomas Jefferson A Life, and I also the Wall of Storms. I gotta get to that one too. And then I keep thinking, oh, I gotta read the Tolkien biography, or at least something that has to do with Lord of the Rings. Like that one, or dang it. This happened last time too, where I couldn't remember the title of that Tolkien book, the book that what is it? That book that Tolkien wrote describing the history of Middle Earth and how Middle Earth came to be, now Sauron fell and everything. I forgot what the title was last time too. I gotta read that one, or the Tolkien biography, which I did start last time we went to my grandmother's house. And I also want to read another book for my Asian literature project. And, especially since Wall of Storms has taken so long. And that is more fantasy, so it's Asian-inspired world. But it's also, a fantasy world. So it's not direct. So it is and it isn't related to my So, like, I feel like I need to actually read a book that takes place in the real world, Asian continent of Asia, and then I want to read another book for the Rory Gilmore project as well. Rory Gilmore Reading Challenge. I'm doing so many that, because I can't decide which one I want to focus on. And I tried to do this where I read one every month, but I'm already kind of struggling with that. But I still got time, because it's only February, so I still got time to get on track with that. And not that I have to. I know I don't have to do it that way, but I would like to, because to keep it organized and to make sure I cover all those projects that I want to do. Sorry, I have I keep getting alerts. But anyway, so I'm gonna stop here. That is my update for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this update, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. And click the bell icon if you want to get notified about my latest videos. You don't have to. In fact, you don't have to do any of that. But I would appreciate it if you would. And as always, I hope you are enjoying your reading. And I will talk to y'all later. Alright, bye!